Esports? Think again. Here, the virtual hits as hard as the asphalt. This is racing redefined. Every battle, every red line, every risk, real. Those tears? That sweat? The milliseconds that put you on the podium? You can't fake it. Because any real racer can tell you it's more than just going round and round. This is about clutching victory from the jaws of defeat, pushing beyond what you thought possible. With the largest sim racing prize on the line, if you're race-born enough, you got a real shot at glory. Because this is iRacing, and it's as real as it gets. Watch it all live on Twitch.
It is Championship Saturday here in the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports All-Stars, and it's a pleasure to have your company here from one of the most famous venues in old world motorsport, the Circuit de la Sarthe at Le Mans. It's Paul Smith and Arjuna Kankipati bringing you all of the action here today. In about an hour and 7 minutes time, it's going to be the Super Cup, but right now, Arjuna, we've got those All-Stars.
Indeed we do. Good memories for me. The last time we were here, of course, I was out on track and I even got a top 10. But we've got some new faces to join the fun, because let's not forget, Casey Kerwin and a couple of our Porsche factory drivers are out there on the streets of Long Beach, ready to rumble for the Grand Prix of Long Beach, just a couple of hours away. Casey's already won our championship, but there's top 5 drivers still left to be locked in, Paul, and what a track to get our season wrapped up.
Absolutely tremendous venue at Le Mans. Plenty of opportunities for these drivers. Driving the Porsche 963 GTP, we've experienced the Cup car, we've experienced the GT3R, and now for the final time this season, we step aboard the GTP of the 963 at Le Mans. What a season it's been, starting all the way back at the start of February. Well, the drivers, they've got qualifying right now, which is a open session for 10 minutes. Then they have a 15-minute sprint race. At the end of that sprint race, we get a full grid inversion for these All-Stars, and then a 20-minute main race. Good news for the drivers is that they also get unlimited fast repairs in this, because it is a fun series, but it's also a serious series as well.
And let's take a look at the track as we head to the French countryside, to the Pays de la Loire region. 8.46 miles, just over 13.5 kilometers. And there are 33 turns that carve their way on through a mix of slow, medium, and high-speed corners. And that's what makes this track so fascinating. These drivers have a fixed setup with which they'll attack the entire track. Quirk Tyson Meyer, the winner when we last came here in 2024. Let's see if he can repeat the success. Let's not forget, he did win a week ago as well, Paul, and he was very delighted to be back on top after what's been a roller coaster, up and down season to say the least for him.
Yeah, it certainly has been, as the drivers are in qualifying, although they won't be able to finish this lap that they're on, unfortunately. But yeah, you mentioned it, Casey Kerwin, he's won the championship, he's sewn that up, but it's the race for third place that I think we need to focus on, because you've got 3 drivers all covered by just 3 championship points. It's going to be a really, really close fight for that final step of the top 3.
Absolutely. So Strati, Quirk, Pablo Vicente, keep your eye out for them. The Popo Lopez, he's somewhat comfortable in second as we take a look at the championship standings. And in fact, it's down to 2 points between those 3 drivers in that fight for third, Paul, with these updated points given, I think, everything that's played out. So keep an eye for all of that. The couple of things that you don't see here that you and I were commenting on before we went on air. Lauren Heinrich, who's only been here for a handful of rounds, he had 94 points in the 2 or 3 races he was part of the All-Star Series. That was good enough, Paul, for him to be in A. Just a reminder of how good the factory drivers are, even in sim racing machines.
Yeah, absolutely. They're absolutely incredible. Ian Changuvan would have been effectively 10th if he was counted in that championship. And remember, for all the information on the All-Stars and on the Super Cup, check out iRacing.com/PESC to keep up to date with the standings, the schedule, and also learn how to drive in Super Cup as well. There's information on there for that. Well, here is your starting grid then for this opening race, and Pablo Vicente getting that pole position. Alongside him on the front row of the grid is the Pulpo Lopez. Straddy and Samsoid on row number 2, with newcomer Diana Drives alongside Kenny 500. Emery and Storm Molina on row number 4, with Ricardo Ferreira on row 5. Alongside him is Grizzle. Quirk and Love 46 on the 6th row of the grid. The final row of the grid, and a couple of newcomers, Brendan Hyperstar and also Wes the Mess down there on row number 7. You know, Arjuna, I'm going to get people's names mixed up with our newcomers. You do know that.
Absolutely. It's great to see some of these drivers, though. Some returning All-Stars. Brendan Hyperstar has been in the IRX All-Stars, Off-Road All-Stars as well. Wes the Mesh joined him as an Off-Road All-Star, so great to see them. I'm, of course, very familiar with Brendan Hyperstar. He competed in the iRacing IndyCar Butt Kicker Pro Series at the end of last year. Great to see him in the 963. Here's the format if you're joining us for the first time. 15 minutes for the sprint race about to get underway. And then, Paul, what makes these All-Star races so exciting, so intriguing? The full field invert before we go for the main event. 20 minutes of racing, and do keep an eye on the 20x incident limit. Off tracks are easy to accumulate here, even in the limited races that we've got in front of us.
Arjuna, I want to remind you, there's somebody else involved in this race that's an IRX All-Star race competitor. Oh, not just that, a race winner as well.
Wonder who that is.
Yeah, I don't know, some guy who wears a cap. Anyway, right, we are getting ourselves set for the start of this race. A crucial thing that we're going to touch on here, Arjuna, is that these drivers, the last time they were in the prototype, the GTP, was all the way back at Spa, where it was the previous iRacing build. Since then, there's been an update to these cars, and the tyres for the first lap, half a lap I would say around here, are going to be so tricky, and it's crucial for them to try and get as much heat into these tyres as possible now.
And so already weaving away as they roll behind the pace car on the short formation run towards the line, get as much heat and pressure into those Michelin tires as possible. And again, I'll just reiterate, Paul, they've got the same setup, so that means they all start with the same tire pressures. They've also got the same level of downforce. You know, this is a track where we're going to talk lots about draft, both with the All-Stars, but also with the Super Cup later on today. And so there's no driver that's able to dial out a bit of downforce and be a rocket ship in a straight line, but maybe a bit more slow through the Porsche curves here. Everyone's just got to try and figure it out with their driving style. The only inputs they really have, their 2 hands and their 2 feet.
Yeah, certainly it'll be all down to how they go. Do you know what? Genuinely, one of the best improvements to this circuit, and I'm not just saying this because I'm on a Porsche broadcast, is the Porsche curves. It was a tremendous addition to the circuit, as we've got a car off already on the warm-up lap, or the warm-up sort of third of a lap. Oh my goodness. So, well, it's the Pulpo Lopez, who's starting on the front row of the grid. He's trying to desperately get back to the front row.
And so now imagine what's going through his mind. He's probably also put a bit of heat load through the tires, so they would have peaked and now come back down. So wonder what that's done overall to the longer life of the tire. But Paul, the Pulpo Lopez is a great driver. He's a former iRacing World Championship driver as well. If he can make that mistake, anyone can make that mistake.
Absolutely. So it just goes to show how tricky these cars are on cold tyres nowadays. Right, we're heading into the last chicane, and drivers deciding to go a little bit more single file towards the front. You can trip over each other. Through the exit of the chicane and onto the loud pedal with green flag racing here in the All-Stars. Beautiful shot down the main straight, then into turn 1 and the chicane. Got to be on early on the brakes here. through into here with cold tyres. Oh, and we're seeing why. Pablo Vicente loses it on entry to the chicane. Look at how much they're squirreling on power out of that chicane through the S's for the first time. Onto the brakes, left and then right, and then we head to the most important corner of this portion of the lap, Tête Rouge, because you're going to be carrying that speed all the way down the Mulsanne to the first chicane.
And be careful, you run all four wheels onto the blue, the runoff on the outside. That's a slowdown penalty, and on this opening lap, the price that you pay is so much more significant than on any subsequent lap. So all of these drivers seemingly able to work their way through on these cold tires now without too much more drama. Pablo Vicente, let's not forget, Paul, we talked about this with him at the start of the season at Daytona. He prefers the Porsche 911 GT3R or the Porsche Cup car. He prefers the sports cars over the prototypes, but qualified on pole position. We know the speed's there, but now the Pulpo Lopez has got 2 seconds clear. The draft's being broken. He's going to try and break away.
Do you know what we're going to be seeing in that second race, the main race of this All-Stars, is you're going to be seeing people deliberately spinning their car at the Porsche curves, because look at the lead that the Pulpo Lopez has got. That's the tactic. Spin it at the Porsche curves, you get a load of heat into your tyres, and away we go. I think somebody at race control needs to step in there, I feel.
If only it would have worked like that 10 out of 10 times. If you use the flashback, right, in some other games, I don't think you get that same outcome if you tried over and over again. You're working now to the back end of the track, Paul. This is not the slowest corner on the track, but it's one where, like you said, half a lap into this race, your tyres are probably coming up to their optimal temperature window. And so don't run deep and lock the tyres, which I think a couple of drivers may have done as we run our way now up towards a fast sweeping entry to the next braking zone.
I think where's the mess was one of those drivers having issues at Mulsanne corner, heading through towards Indianapolis. This is the fastest section of the track then, and it's so important to carry the speed through the right and then immediately hit the brakes through the banks left at Indianapolis and then to Arnage, which is the most, I can guarantee you, the most frustrating corner of this whole track.
It's the slowest corner, that is for sure. And so again, remember the contrast between the high-speed Porsche curves that are about to greet these machines versus the corner you've just exited. Slow versus high speed. You need a car that's going to work in both of them. You get the hybrid down though, and then Paul, up to what you said is one of the best additions to the track. I'll just say it's one of my favorite sections of the track. Commitment as he throw it as close to the wall as you can to the double left-handers on the exit of the Porsche curves.
Sparks flying as one of the cars clipped the safer barrier there on driver's right as they come out of the Porsche curves through karting and heading towards the chicane at the end of the lap then. So the Pulpo Lopez has a best part of a 2.5 second lead over Samsoid, who's moved up into second place. Straddy though, crucially for him, is in third place, and he needs to stay ahead of Pablo Vicente to try and hold on to that lead in third place of the championship. Crucial thing to remember though, bonus points available for the fastest lap of the race as well.
And for pole position, so Pablo Vicente got a couple of bonus points for that, and you can see the Argentine stressed, I'm sure. Keep an eye out, I'm just going to call it right now, for Samsoid. He likes these prototype machines. 2.4 seconds, 10 minutes, 10.5 minutes left to go. I think he's going to be able to put the pressure onto the Pulpo Lopez by the time we get to the end of this race. That sounded like a couple of stabs at the throttle though from Vicente, Paul, which is not what you want to do. You want to get onto the power in one smooth, aggressive motion. When you're stabbing at it, you're just pushing the car out wide and costing yourself momentum down the Mulsanne.
Emery's got a slow down penalty, exit of Tête Rouge, so she's dropping down the order. Meanwhile, slipstream battle down to officially, this is the Daytona chicane, don't forget, as well. So remember, Daytona at the start of the year, we raced there and we had the Le Mans chicane. Well, vice versa, it's reciprocal as that. We've got the Daytona chicane here at the Circuit de la South. Do you know what, Arjuna? This is the track where I get to say one of my favourite motorsport facts of all time, and you know what is coming.
Here we go.
But I'm going to say it for the benefit of those at home, it's that the Mulsanne Straight is the same length as the Sebring International Raceway. With that interesting fact, Arjuna, you've got the leader.
I wonder how many times I've heard that one before. The Purple Lopez joins us from the lead of the race. How's it going, Pablo? Talk to us about the spin on cold tires before the race even started.
Warming up the tires. Oh my god. But then Pablo Vicente had the same on turn 1, so I think it's, I mean, I was lucky to not have damage, and let's see if I can hold on some side.
Yeah, that's what I was just saying. David, I think, is pretty good in this sort of a combo, so he's going to be one trying to push his way forward. So clearly not a calculated strategy to warm up the tires, a bit of a mistake. But that's what this
of course
update for the GTP car has really brought, right? So how do you feel this new version of the Porsche 963 compares to what you drove at the start of the season at Daytona?
I mean, pretty much more realistic in terms of corner speed, but I don't know about the cold tire situation. I think my road car has better grip on cold tires than this.
I don't know, that might be somewhat realistic. There's some action as well further down through the field that's seen some of the other drivers struggle. So I've got to ask you, how much are you worried about track limits as well? Because we saw in qualifying about half the field didn't set a qualifying lap time.
Yeah, this track is pretty difficult about that. A little bit off track and you get a no slowdown penalty. And that's it. You are screwed for the lap.
We'll let you go and focus and hopefully not get any slowdowns by talking to us anymore. The Purple Lopez in the lead of the race, Paul.
Yeah, certainly we've had issues further down the order, as you alluded to. Kenny 500 is one of those drivers. Grizzle is another. Here's a replay, a look back at what happened. This is Kenny 500 heading down towards Indianapolis, side by side, and as they head through, we're going to get to Indy. So through the fast right-hander, they sort themselves out, but then Kenny 500 tries to dive down the inside, makes contact, loses control, and wipes out Grizzle along for the ride. So bodywork flying everywhere, and Kenny 500 has had to take to the pits, and Grizzle also has had to take to pit road to get repairs.
There's been some high-speed crashes there in the real world, even in recent years, but you know that. There's a lot of damage done to that Porsche 963, even though the actual contact into the wall relatively slow after scrubbing so much of that entry speed. A bit too much commitment there from Kenny 500, and unfortunately both drivers pay a big price. They'll now start from the front, though, of the main race. Remember, full field invert, so an opportunity for them to close out the season with a high. Let's see how much the draft is going to try and play its part, though, because we burned around half the race on the clock so far, Paul, and as much as Strati is coming under pressure from Pablo Vicente, not really being under too much pressure in terms of moves being made. You can see, looking to the inside of the Argentine, that the 81 continues to hold strong.
So remember, Vicente did set that pole position lap. Strati, he started himself in third place. So he's in the natural place where his pace would have him. Pablo Vicente, you'd say, oh, well, he should be able to pass. And, well, he's going right up to the gearbox of Strati in front. He doesn't need to rush, though. I mean, he's got behind Diana Drives. Great addition to the series, in my opinion, is Diana Drives. Moving up towards the rear of this fight for third place. I wouldn't write her out of getting involved in all of this.
I think you've got to be careful as well, because Strati and Pablo have spent the season kind of fighting with each other, right? But Diana's new to the series. They don't necessarily know how she's going to attack, and you know just how quick Diana can be as well. So she's there and plotting, right? She's watching everything that these two drivers are doing in front, and if they do end up costing each other some time, watch for them to start to pounce and to make their moves. I will also say they're not lost too much time to Samsoid in second place, Paul, so by no means the gap's increasing at this point in the race. It's kind of a stalemate at this time.
It certainly is up at the front there. Lap time wise, you're talking 3-minute 26s at the front, and then this group that we're looking at 3-minute 27, so they're not that far off of the pace of Samsoid. You think the length of this track, just over 13.5 kilometers in distance, they're only half a second slower than Samsung in second place right now, and they're embroiled in a bit of a fight here. So we're going to get 2 more laps of this opening sprint race here in this one. Samsung trying his best to close up to the Pulpo Lopez at the front of the field. 25.8 from the Pulpo Lopez that last time by 26.1 from Samsung.
And let's see if we can catch up with Samsung as that purple lap comes in slightly further behind from Ricardo Ferreira. David, going quite well for you right now, up a couple of spots and in a podium position.
Yeah, and big smiles. I don't know, I just did my usual prep and I don't know, man. I'm having fun, things are going my way and I'm just trying to be predictable now. Got past the cold tyre phase and yes, I'm happy, very happy.
Yeah, let's talk about those cold tyres because we had one car spinning on the formation lap, we had one car spinning off into turn number 1. Just how tricky is it compared to how we started the season off at Daytona with this brand new tyre model?
Yeah, you really got to concentrate and that's where it's key. 1 lapse of concentration, too much thought, you cannot save it. It's not savable, that's the problem. And then in a few of the corners early on in the high compression, even if you're going slow, and the car dips away from you, because the compound's so cold, you don't really even get much of a force feedback signal. You really just notice with your eyes and ears that things are not looking good.
Well, and Pablo had a very great way of describing what it was like on cold tyres, whereas road car had more grip. I guess that's just kind of the way it is right now. Tyre warmers for some of these machines in the real world as well, so it's a new factor to deal with. But let's recap the season overall, Samsung, because it's been a fun season, I think, for you. Some ups and downs, but top 10 in the points at least so far.
Yeah, I don't try and dwell on the things. I had 2 rig failures on the day of Pescal Stars, which in my 6 years I've really never had rig failures. So, but I don't complain. You work with what you got. It's my fault they fouled, essentially. It's my rig. I've really enjoyed the season. Just, yeah, where I felt like I could have got the points, I didn't. And I've done went on the races where I maybe thought I would struggle. So I'll take it.
And hopefully you can hold on to the second and then the full field invert to try and fight your way back forward. We'll chat with you hopefully slightly later on, David.
Cheers, thank you.
There we go. As we're getting 2 wide action then. Pablo Vicente and Strade change of position. So Pablo Vicente up into 3rd place right now. Ricardo Ferreira and Diana Drives are fighting it out behind as well. So they're all sorting themselves out for this 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th and 7th. Quirk's there. You mentioned it, Arjuna, about how Quirk, he's good in these prototypes. He's caught up to the back as Diana Drives goes deep at Arnage, and that's allowed Quirk to go through. So down 2 places for Diana Drives. Ricardo Ferreira and Quirk moving ahead.
It all happened, I think, initially working their way out of Mulsanne corner when Ferreira made the initial move. Yeah, just unfortunate there, and it's just how the prototype sometimes race when you get down to some of those slower speed corners that, I don't want to say clumsy, that's the wrong word to describe these cars, but compared to how precise they are at high speed, Paul, when the downforce is there and they're all loaded up, it's a lot more difficult, right, when they're trying to go through a corner at 30 miles an hour compared to 180 miles an hour with the downforce difference. So sometimes you just push it offline into the marbles and it's hard to bounce back. Let's see what's going to happen though, because 1 more lap to go. Top 2 somewhat settled. Behind them, questions remain about who's going to end up where come the checkered flag.
I think Barney's on strike. He's not showing the white flag at all, so or maybe he's doing it. Maybe he's doing it the European way, and maybe he's just pointing the one finger to the drivers. That's the way that the European flag marshals do that for the start line. But anyway, as we go through the S's for the final time in this opening sprint race of the All-Stars, it's been really intriguing to see this little fight going on, and Strade losing touch with Pablo Vicente in front. That's allowing Ricardo Ferreira, newcomer to the series, Quirk as well behind. Diana Drives just off the back of the 3 of them as they're going down the Mulsanne once again.
See if anyone's going to try and set something up towards the end of this lap. The problem is, Paul, all of these drivers will be thinking they don't want to make their move too early, because what that does is puts you vulnerable, right, to the draft and allowing the driver behind to try and slingshot their way back past you. And so many of them will be thinking it's the run out of Mulsanne at the end of this straight towards Indianapolis and Arnage, the slowest points on the track, that you really want to make your move count. On board with Ricardo Ferreira, who, Paul, not sure if you remember, but back in the day, once ran in the Porsche Esports Sprint Challenge.
Yes, all those years ago, back when I didn't have grey hair. Well, Ricardo putting the pressure on Stradi right now for 4th place as they come out of that second chicane, heading towards Mulsanne corner. Of course, up over this rise is where you had the scary incidents with prototypes of the past catching air and going over, and well, that was rather all a bit easy for Ricardo, although is that Stradi now setting up for this run, because this is actually the fastest section of the track down to Indianapolis.
Went a bit wide though, if you ask me, did Stradi, and so if Ferreira's got a good run and has saved enough of the battery, maybe he'll be able to hold on. These drivers can't really switch those modes as much as maybe they would want to. There's no necessarily overtake button that you can press and rely on. And around the outside, that is a great move from Quirk to rip the spot away from Stradi. And I think still under pressure, Dyna Drives goes into the gravel, but still looking in the rearview mirrors is the 81.
Yeah, remember, Quirk is involved in that fight for 3rd place that Stradi currently holds on in the championship. It's Pablo Vicente and Quirk that are trying to wrestle that 3rd place off of him. So far, Vicente is in the box seat for that as they head to the Porsche curves for the final time in this first sprint race of the day. And the All-Stars giving us a good show as they go through once again. Nothing better than being in a prototype going through the Porsche curves. Absolutely sensational. But one driver who's been sensational at the front of the field, well, the only problem was his spin on the warm-up lap. But I tell you what, the Pulpo Lopez takes the race win then in the sprint race. And it's another All-Stars win for him. Little shake of the fist. He's happy with that one. As across the line they all come. And still Barney on strike for us here today. I don't think we're going to be getting much action from the flagman at the start and finish line. Last few drivers coming across the line, those that are involved in incidents. Grizzle is going to be the very last driver on the lap. Storm Molina and Wes the Mess fighting it out for 11th and 12th places in the end. Here is your provisional race results then. Pulpo Lopez, 4.5 seconds. He's in the lead for the young Spaniard, ahead of Samsoid with Pablo Vicente in 3rd. Then it's Ricardo Ferreira, ahead of Quirk, Stradi, Dyna Drives. Welcome to the series, along with Ricardo Ferreira. Love 46 in 8th, ahead of Emery, with Brendan Hyperstar in the top 10. Stormelina Bell, she's had struggles out there and down in 11th, ahead of Where's the Mess. Grizzle and Kenny 500 did not get back out on track. So that's your results. We're going to get the full grid invert for race number 2. So that does mean that those that finished at the back, Grizzle and Kenny 500, they're going to carry on their fight in this second race. And let's hope it doesn't come to blows like we saw in that sprint race of the day. But hopefully we do get to hear from a driver or two here in this period between races. And Anna, you've got a certain Emery.
We've got Emily Jones standing by. Emily, the talk of today has been cold tires for the most part. Talk to us about how your first race of the day at Le Mans went in the Porsche 963.
Oh, it was fun. I drove around a bit. I guess I did have cold tires at the start. But yeah, I had fun. It was nice.
A little bit of a fight with Love 46 in the final stages means that you'll be starting, I think, if I've done my reverse grid correctly, 5th in the main race. How are you expecting this start to go? Single file up towards the opening corner and then hoping not to get a slowdown out of Tetra Rouge for the first time?
Yeah, I think that'll be the plan. Don't get a slow down. And yeah, just don't. I almost died out of the final corner, in the first race. So I'm going to try not to do that. I just put the foot to the floor and then it almost rotated. And I was like, I'll try not to do that next time, I guess.
But you almost died before the race technically started for you, is what you're saying?
Yeah, I almost completed -1 laps for the previous race. But yeah, if I can avoid that and avoid the slowdowns, I reckon we'll have a fine experience.
Well, best of luck for the main race coming up ahead. Been great to have you as a Porsche All-Star once again in 2025.
Thank you.
Well, here's how things stand right now in the championship standings. Pablo Vicente moving up into 3rd place then. Able to get the jump over Quirk and Stradi. Quirk and Stradi are equal on points, so things still pretty close there. But 7 points of separation, that's going all the way down to the wire, that fight. Samsoid and Kenny 500, that incident for Kenny 500 has allowed Samsoid to move up a place as well in all of this. Arjuna, it's fair to say that having Grizzle and Kenny 500 start at the front row of the grid, they can carry on their fight, because it's not the first time those two have come together this season.
No, and to be fair, they only got 1 lap in the sprint race, right? So it's only fair that we give them another opportunity to continue round 3, if you will, in the 2025 season. But that is going to be an important thing to keep an eye on for Kenny 500. He can't afford to lose too many more points, especially given how that sprint race went for him. All things considered, they were a relatively tidy start for most drivers as they exited out of the final corner.
Apart from Pablo Vicente, out of the first chicane, losing control on a corner entry. You could see the cars really struggling to get the power down on corner exit on those cold tyres, and sparks flying through the Porsche curves on that first lap. Bit of moves further down your field. There was Kenny 500 fighting it out, and it was here at Indianapolis. Little touch, loses control, and wipes out Grizzle for good cause in all of that. Stradi seemed to be not really fighting anybody at the front of the field, and it was Ricardo Ferreira making the move, and then Tyson Meyer deciding, well, Quirk is going to do Quirk things and make the move and make it stick. But the Pulpo Lopez took the race win even after spinning it on the warm-up lap. So we've got just under a minute before we head on over to the second race of the day. Arjuna, the All-Stars, it's been a good season this season once again, hasn't it?
It has. You know, it's a good way to start what's a blockbuster day of action for Porsche race fans. Today, Porsche All-Stars leads into Porsche Esports Supercup, which leads into the Grand Prix of Long Beach, where, of course, for Porsche Penske Motorsports, they're searching for their 3rd win in a row to open up the 2025 IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship campaign. And, of course, we get to see Rexy with not Lauren Heinrich, instead with Lawrence Vantour behind the wheel out on track as well. There's so much to look forward to today. Here's a look once again at our All-Star race format.
I want to touch as well on the All-Stars as well. I want to take back to Saxon Ring. A wild card, Connor Brown, qualified himself into the event and then got bullied, absolutely bullied mercilessly by the rest of the field. It was tremendous to have the wild card, and hopefully we can have that again in the future. But there you go. There's the format. So we get a full grid inversion and then the main race of 20 minutes for these drivers to be able to finally finish off the season with a bit of a longer race, stretch their legs in all of this. And well, it's Kenny 500 and Grizzle on the front row of the grid. Row number 2, Where's the Mess and Storm Molina. It'd be great for Bell to get a good result here today. Brendan Hyperstar alongside Emery sharing row number 3. The 4th row of the grid for Love 46 and Diana Drives, with Stradi and Quirk then on row number 5. Row 6, it's Ricardo Ferreira and Pablo Vicente. And then finishing off the grid for you, it's going to be the drivers who finished in 1st and 2nd place. Samsoid and the Pulpo Lopez. Be interested to see how they and others are able to move through the field, because as we saw in that first race, Arjuna, slipstream does work, but if you can break that slipstream and get out in front, you're in a very strong place.
Going to be interesting, the pace difference between the front and the back. Is that going to present some opportunities? Are we going to see some chaos with cold tires on the opening lap of the race that will see that gap build and the draft be broken. Some opportunity for potentially a winner at the end of the season, not just with Casey Kerwin missing, but with some of those stronger drivers pegged at the back of the field. Let's see what happens, Paul, as we get rolling for the final time of the season with our Porsche All-Stars.
Tremendous. This has been all season long, and it's great to have the All-Stars here. If you're wondering about the Super Cup, well, that's coming up in 34 minutes time. You see the countdown in the bottom right hand corner of your screen, so you will not miss a thing in the Porsche Heuer Esports Supercup. But as the drivers get themselves around to the Porsche curves with an extra 5 minutes on the clock, they'll probably get 2 laps extra out of that, and so they'll be wanting to see if they can get themselves a bit more positions gained and possibly not lose places if you're starting at the front of the field. But Kenny 500, Grizzle, they'll continue their fight. Let's just see if anybody loses control through the second portion of the Porsche curves. So far so good, everybody behaving themselves behind the Porsche 911 Cup car that's at the head of the field, taking us through to the end of the lap. Well, it's been a pleasure to have the All-Stars along. Everybody who's competed in this season, it's been great to see them here this season once again. As we head towards that final series of chicanes, drivers still trying to get whatever warmth they can into their tyres. The tricolor in the sky. Beautiful, clear skies for the drivers here today in this All-Stars event. As the French Air Force go through, we'll be set then for the main race of the final time in the Porsche Heuer Esports All-Stars for 2025. Green flag, and we are underway here at Le Mans. Heading towards the first corner, sweeping right-hander. Drivers know after that first race to be careful on cold tyres. Into the chicane for this time. As we go through, so far, everybody behaving themselves. Nobody's spinning, but again, you can see the cars scrabbling for grip as they get onto the power, as they come out that first chicane, through the S's, and heading towards Tête Rouge. Drama happening in front though.
Slot 46, I think, has gone wide and tripped herself up off the track. So as Kenny 500 scampers out of Tête Rouge, the first time of asking, builds the speed up, back of the field, getting checked up slightly. The Pulpo Lopez lifts off and potentially breathes some speed. But at the front of the field, into the draft for Grizzle as he tries to focus on the lead. Westermess 1.1 seconds behind, and you can see these back and forth from some of the other drivers in the pack.
Emery, Stormolina together. I think there's been a switch of positions for them. Emery's up 2 places at the start of this race. Right, is this going to be gloves off, ding ding round 2 between these two after that first race? Well, we'll have to wait and see. Slow down penalty for Brennan Hyperstar, which on the opening lap of the race is absolutely brutal for these drivers. You can see the slipstream just taking effect to a degree. I think Grizzle is doing that old trick though of just getting off the throttle slightly and just holding place, but it's all about attacking at the right place at the right time.
Got to be worried as well. Emily Jones has got in front of Westermess, and now the freight train is somewhat built up. Westermess gets passed by Quirk, Stormolina and Diana Drive. Make that 4 spots loss out of effectively 1 chicane for the 88 machine, and still side by side as they run their way up towards Mulsanne. They'll single file into the braking zone, though. Quirk's up to 4th position through all of that. Some chopping and changing, and now losing the rear end. Diana Drives goes to the inside to try and avoid it.
And Stormolina takes advantage of all of that. She had a slow down penalty to serve, by the way, did Stormolina, from that second chicane down the Mulsanne straight. Battle for the lead. Oh, we're getting a bit of PTSD headed into Indianapolis. Well, so far so good between the two of them, but then the fight further back. My goodness, Quirk made a dive to the inside at Indianapolis. You saw it just on the bottom of your screen. Meanwhile, we've got everybody tripping over each other. And look at that, down the inside, Quirk on Molina. He is on a mission.
It's letting those front three break away, and so they'll all be smiling at some great racing, though, for us to enjoy as they just continue to dice it up in that mid-pack. And there might be some side-by-side action up towards the Porsche curves, but I think for the most part, drivers recognizing that finally let's get our acts together, single file it out, and not let Kenny 500 and Grizzle continue to break away in the leading duo as they run a couple of car lengths, splitting the two drivers out of the Porsche curves.
Yeah, Kenny 500 Grizzle at the front. Emery has dropped back to about 2 seconds off of second place, but then it's everybody else for fourth place. Diana Drives, Ricardo Ferreira, well, are new to the series, respecter of no egos here, as well, Pulpo Lopez moving forward ahead of Pablo Vicente. Excuse me, Vicente. Now, Vicente, it's crucial for him to stick around with Quirk, who we know how good Quirk is around this track because he won here last year.
Absolutely. We've only seen a couple of three-wide moments as well. I'm hoping we'll get a few more as we just continue to build. We haven't seen the entire running order shift back towards what it was at the end of the sprint race just yet. So we have some drivers who some would say are out of position, some would say just were involved in incidents in that first race and have got to now find themselves fighting back. That's a move up the inside from Love 46 to retake 12th away from Storm Molina.
Oh dear, Bell, it's not been her race. Couple of slow down penalties and getting a bit freight trained through all of that. Down the Mulsanne then, it is Diana Drives who's trying to break that slipstream at the front of that chain of three, that trio. It's Ricardo Ferreira and Quirk right behind her for that third place. They have slightly caught the race leaders in terms of pace, so I think that this group really could be a threat to move forward.
Lee Jones is not far off the back of those top two as well, so there's all sorts of storylines with this first 5 minutes now complete of the main race. 15 minutes now left in the season for these Porsche All-Star drivers. We sit on the roof of Quirk. Not sure if that was a bit of hybrid regen going on as well. When you lift off the throttle in these cars, Paul, it's not always just about the saving of fuel, right? But when you lift off, you're helping the hybrid to regenerate a bit more of the energy, which you can then deploy down some of these long straightaways. And at a track like Le Mans, the balance of the regen versus deployment is so important. But look at the back and forth as Ricardo Ferreira gets the door slammed shut by Diana Drives. Keep an eye out in the bottom corner, though, because Grizzle's starting to look for a way past Kenny 500 with a gap back to Emery coming down.
Certainly is. Those two fighting at the front, these fighting for fourth place as well. Pleasure to have you all along for this finale day. It's Saturday finale. And well, still pretty close between these in 4th, 5th, 6th place. And Pulpo Lopez isn't that far back from them either. Pulpo Lopez up 7 places. Ricardo Ferreira is up 6 places where he started in all of this. Out of Arnage then, on the power as they head towards the Porsche curves, and it's just biding their time, I think, now at this point, waiting for the opportune moment.
5 minutes extra doesn't sound like a lot, but given how much racing some of these drivers are doing, they're putting a fair amount of load through their Michelin tires. Ferreira makes the move past Diana Drives. None of these drivers are going to be concerned about tire wear, Paul, right? This race isn't long enough for that. What they are going to be concerned about is what we've seen on occasion, where if you light up the rear tires, you overdrive the car, then you get compromises. That's what happened to Diana Drives right there. As now Quirk makes the move, and the 13 slips back, not just to 5th, but now down to 7th, because the Pulpo Lopez slides through as well, and very, very slow through the chicane. Pablo Vicente almost runs into the back of the 13.
Oh yeah, it's not been a good one for Diana Drives. Well, there you see the practice session for the Super Cup. Jordan Caruso on screen. He's 40 points behind championship leader of Cooper Webster. But, well, Caruso, he's got to really pull out all the stops and get the best result he possibly can do. He needs almost a perfect weekend for him to be crowned champion, but never say never in the Porsche Heuer Esports Supercup. Remember what happened to Caruso here at Le Mans a couple of years ago. So as we see there, you can see the green banner on the rear wing and also on the top of the windscreen as well. That'll help you identify at home who will be your championship protagonists in this Super Cup event. So got 24 and a half minutes until that first sprint race of the Super Cup. But back to the action here in the All-Stars, Arjuna. Emery has been slowly catching up to the front, and I tell you what, this battle for fourth place has also been closing up as well.
I get the feeling we could be in for a somewhat of a blockbuster showcase to the end of this season with how it's all compressing. Grizzle's been quite reluctant, Paul, to continue the brawl from round one, from the sprint race, if you will. And I'm not quite sure why, because it is clear drivers behind are closing, right? There's no doubt about it. Ricardo Ferreira is there in the camera shot. At what point does he pull the trigger and say, there's no point waiting anymore, it's time for me to try and make my way forward, even if it brings those in behind a little bit closer? Clearly he's not close enough to make a move just yet, but something's got to give sooner rather than later.
As we go through then and out of the Mulsanne corner, time ticking down towards the halfway point of this race, but Grizzle is right there under the diffuser now and looking to make the move for the race lead here. He's decided now's the time to pull the pin and hopefully able to get through around the outside. That gives you the inside for the next part of Indianapolis. Kenny 500 runs deep at Indianapolis, but that gives him the inside into Arnage. These two still going to stay absolutely neck and neck through Arnage and onto the power once again. Meanwhile, these two are slowing each other down here, which is allowing Emery, also Ricardo Ferreira, Quirk, the Pulpo Lopez, all catching up to this battle for the lead. Into the Porsche curves, they're still absolutely neck and neck as we'll look on board from Emery's point of view.
But finally, it is done. Able to slide clear through the Porsche curves. Grizzle takes the race lead, but now it's 6 cars covered by 3 seconds. And here we go. 3 laps left to close out the season by my rough estimation at the line. And it comes down to these final laps to decide who will end the season as a race winner. Remember, Paul, Emily Jones, a prior champion of the series, missed a couple of rounds, yes, but we have not seen her best, I think, in terms of performances. She's up towards the front.
And she's dragging a few vehicles along with her as well. Ricardo Ferreira is there. Quirk is there. Remember, Quirk's trying to get that 3rd place in the championship here in all of this. The Pulpo Lopez just setting new fastest lap. He's catching up to this group as well. There was about 4 seconds between 1st and 3rd place a few moments ago. Now it's down to 3 seconds, covering 1st to 6th as Arjuna. We've at the most inopportune time interrupted. Where's the mess?
You'd think that for an all-star you'd be able to focus more, West, but we've distracted you off to turn number 1. How's it going here on your first experience as a Porsche all-star?
Oh, it's really fun. This is really like the first race I've gotten besides like a week 13 Suzuka deal with the GTP with the new tire model, and it's definitely interesting. I'm really used to actually having grip in the car for the first lap, but that doesn't work anymore. But it's really fun. A lot of fast people out here, and I'm just enjoying my time.
So how much of a mess has it been out there on track? You've experienced the full invert of the main race, and now as Brendan Hyperstar makes his way past you, you've got a couple of cars in front of you. Has it been interesting compared to some of your normal experiences on the dirt?
Oh, 100%, 100%. You know, the dirt, we're a lot closer to one another in the Pro 4s and stuff, and there's a lot of technical dealings you got to do with this car, and you just got to be perfect lap after lap, and that's definitely not what we have been doing here. Le Mans is also, you know, extremely challenging as well. It's a lot of track and a lot of places to make errors, and you know, this car is really unforgiving as well. You know, you've really got to put your time and effort and your focus into running this thing here. So But you know, I can't thank Cisco enough for hitting me up and, you know, asking me to come out and run it, and it's just been a blast. I've been so pumped up since he invited me a couple of days ago. I've been looking forward to this for the rest of the week.
And before we let you go, talk to us about virtual reality, because it's not something that many people race in regularly, not something that many people have even had the opportunity to try before.
Well, you know, I'm kind of on the opposite end of the spectrum. I've never had a chance to try triples out, so this was kind of where I had to go with the budget I had when I built it, and this is the original Oculus, and I've been on this thing for 6 years now. Yep. And it's just, I can't race without it. The immersion is just second to none. Like I said, I don't have really anything to kind of gauge off of with triples and such, but I can't do it no other way. I love it.
Well, thanks for chatting with us, Wes, and thanks for jumping in as a Porsche All-Star.
Yeah, sir. Appreciate it. Thank y'all.
Always so good to get the dirt side represented here in the All-Stars as well. Love to see it. Well, we've got 2 laps to go in this race, and the top 6 are all separated by less than 2.5 seconds. Arjuna, you were mentioning, and you thought that we might get a close finish towards the end of the race. It's going that way, isn't it?
It is. The question is, do Ferreira, Quirk, and Pulpo Lopez have enough time to get to the front and make their moves? Because Kenny 500's lost a bit of ground now to Grizzle, right? There's 3-4 car lengths building between them as they head off to Tetra Rouge for what should be the penultimate time. Emily Jones got the pressure building in the rearview mirrors from Ferreira in the 31. This is going to be a crucial run down the Mulsando if we're going to see a couple of moves through the chicanes.
Ferreira looking to make a move on Emery onto Emily Jones. Down the Mulsanne, the first part of the Mulsanne straight they go. As they go towards that Daytona chicane, onto the brakes then. And still together, Emily holding on to that place. And that's going to allow Quirk to get onto the tail of Ferreira now. So on the power, onto the next section of the Mulsanne straight. These 6 have all left Pablo Vicente and Diana Drives behind. So those 2 won't really become a factor unless all of these 6 really start tripping over each other. But into that second chicane now, and it's still absolutely neck and neck. This is great stuff from our All-Stars. A little bit wide from Ferreira, but he should be okay with that.
You can kind of tell there's not much margin now between these drivers because they're not quite on the ragged edge, I'd say, but they don't have much margin between making a mistake and losing some time. So Ferreira, it almost looked like for a moment if he went too much wider there. There's a lot of bumps on the outside of this track. Maybe we'll talk about that more with the Super Cup drivers. But Quirk had an opportunity to potentially try and pass if too much speed was lost. So it's a fascinating track pause. Behind looks like Diana Drives and Pablo Vicente go wheel to wheel through one of the slower corners on the track. All of these drivers are kind of now figuring out, right, we've seen what's happened in the prior 16 and a bit minutes. 3.5 minutes left to go. Where are my places to make some moves based on where my competitors are making mistakes?
The sun is shining here today as we go through Indianapolis then, and the front 2. Well, Kenny 500 just caught that gap back up, and oh my goodness, Quirk was almost pushing Ricardo through Arnage corner. Here's Grizzle then, under pressure from behind Kenny 500. It's absolutely neck and neck, and we're going to be starting the white flag lap at the end of this one through the Porsche curves. Not the best run through the first part there for Grizzle. Everybody else working their way through those curves. I'm so glad in terms of the safety that they moved the walls away from the side there to make it safer if you do have an accident there. Quirk's making a move. He's had the run out of the Porsche curves, but he's not quite got enough of an overlap to go into the chicanes.
And it all builds now to this final trip around the Circuit de la Sarthe for these drivers. It's one final lap in the Porsche All-Stars, Paul, and I think Grizzle's got a great opportunity to hold on to what would be a race victory here. Kenny 500's not close enough to put the pressure on, and as much as I thought Ferreira, Quirk even Emily Jones might be in the equation, in the mix here. They've been looking at each other for the most part. They're not focused at the front of this field as out of the first chicane and under the Dunlop Bridge, they sweep.
Beautiful run through the S's for the final time for these All-Stars. So good. Everybody who's competed, not just those that's competed in today's race, but throughout the whole season. Little wide there from Quirk, but he gets away with a slow down penalty. Onto the Mulsanne, and it's power all the way towards that first chicane. Do what you can, and Grizzle's doing all that he can to try and break the draft here at the front of the field. Kenny 500 moving about in the mirrors, doing everything that he can to try and upset Grizzle's run into the braking zone.
Doesn't quite work though, and Grizzle gets a good exit as well, able to get all of that power down. And this is where that draft has got to start feeding back in. Kenny 500 still losing some time, and only now is he starting to close back up as the hole in the air is getting punched by the leading Porsche 963. It's a great sight as well, Paul. 6 of these cars, all with resplendent liveries across of them as well, into the chicane for the final time, and closing up as the concertina builds and extending out with one driver losing out. It's Quirk in the kitty litter.
And that's crucial. Quirk needed to be staying ahead, and there goes Pablo Vicente then up a place ahead of Quirk. Quirk needed that good result to be able to try and get third place in the championship here today. So it looks like it's going the way of Vicente is that position. But still, Grizzle, Kenny 500, it's this run now down to Indianapolis. It's going to be the key one. We've seen how these two were able to go side by side for pretty much half a lap. So hopefully they can do that once again for us, give us a grandstand finish here in this race. Kenny 500's getting closer, closer, closer. Now makes the move to the inside. Makes the move and makes it stick. Beautifully done there from Kenny 500, but he's gone too deep. He's gone too deep. Grizzle takes the place back.
And he won't have a chance to fight back now, you'd think, because all Grizzle has to do is be pixel perfect, run his lines, and surely Kenny 500 will not get another opportunity to fight his way back forward. He had one chance, Paul. He went for it. He gave it his all. He overcommitted. He overcooked. And it's Grizzle still in control.
Grizzle then, is he going to be the last All-Stars winner of the season through the Porsche curves for the final time? Beautiful sight to see these Porsche 963 GTPs all running through there. Exit the Porsche curves then, and it's Grizzle. He's got a third of a second lead over Kenny 500. It's going to be just the mother of all dive bombs from Kenny 500 to make this to try and get the lead. He's going to have a look there, but Grizzle 500 clatters over the curbs. He's a winner once again in the All-Stars, and look at the joy. Look at how happy he is to get that win. Sensational stuff there at the front of this race, all the way through. Emily Jones takes third place in this race. Final few drivers heading towards the finish line, and well, it's been a really enjoyable second race of the All-Stars here today, and right across the line they go and they take that position. Arjuna, as we head into the Loctite post-race show, it was a tremendous effort there from Grizzle to take the win, and you've got the race winner.
Grizzle, talk to us. Race winner in the Porsche All-Stars.
I can't believe it. After the season that I've had and all the drama and everything, winning the feature at the last track, I have no words. And you know, I have no words. That was incredible fighting with Kenny.
I could feel the tension into those final couple of laps. I was even saying at one point, something had to give. You had to start going for the move, and then the next straight, you went to the outside and you went for it. What was going through your mind halfway through that race when you saw Emily Jones, the Popo Lopez, Ricardo Ferreira, all of those drivers starting to close? Did you think you had to start going for it?
I really tried to keep it as best as possible and keeping the tires alive, because, you know, with these new tires, cold tires, and you wear them out too early, and you got to save the tires a bit. And I saved a bit of energy behind Kenny as well, which helped me just keep that momentum out of the corners and just keeping that gap to like Pablo and Emery and so on. I'm shaking, aren't you?
Grizzle, congratulations. I want to come and give you a hug. I'm so happy for you, and I hope we see you back in 2026 as a Porsche All-Star. You're a race winner, Mark. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Hope to see you next season.
Well, here are your results then from that race. It's Grizzle ahead of Kenny 500 with Emery in third place. Good podium finish for Emery after the season that she's had this season. Ricardo Ferreira, what a debut. Fourth place ahead of Pulpo Lopez, Pablo Vicente, Quirk Stradi, and the rest of them on your screen right now. Let's take a look at how things have affected in your championship. We know Casey Kerwin's won. We know that Pulpo Lopez is second, but Pablo Vicente in his debut season finishes in third place ahead of Quirk, who was 1 point clear of Stradi. Kenny 500 within 10 of those two, in sixth ahead of Samsoid, Grizzle, Versicoli, and Love 46, your top 10 in your driver's standings. Well, that was absolutely brilliant stuff. But make sure you stick around, because coming up next is going to be the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Supercup. We do not want you to miss a thing. This is going to be a sensational end to the season. See you soon.
One driver has led and made sure his name has been counted. It's Super Duper Cooper Webster that everyone's looking to try and catch in the Porsche Esports Super Cup.
He's not got a hand on the trophy, but he's got a good look at it. But there's two drivers who still have an outside shot to spoil the party. It's the Team Indian Racing Festival driver, Jordan Caruso.
He wants his second Porsche Esports Super Cup title.
And then there's his teammate, the gold medalist, Mitchell de Jong. How much would he love to shock the world and win this championship?
The fight for our $200,000 prize pool has two more races left to go.
Yeah, it feels great. Just kind of taking it one race at a time.
Just trying to bag some big points and get back into the championship.
Anything can happen at Le Mans, and I just really want to do my best.
Three drivers have the opportunity of crowning themselves the 2025 Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Super Cup. And it all comes down to this. Le Mans, the home of endurance, the most famous endurance event in all of world motorsport. Paul Smith and Arjuna Kankipati here for you for all of the action once again. And Arjuna, it's been a tumultuous season, but we're down to just three drivers. Realistically, two though, you would say.
Mitchell de Jong comes in with an outside chance, but realistically, it's between Super Duper Cooper Webster and Jordan Caruso. For Cooper Webster, his chance to win his first major sim racing championship for Jordan Caruso his chance to win his second Porsche Esports Supercup. There's a lot on the line, but Paul, these are three drivers that have been at the top of the sim racing world for many a time. The nerves aren't going to get to them. For many of them, it's just another regular Saturday in the office.
There's a little bit of nervous energy, I think, from Cooper Webster there. Jordan Caruso's looking forward to it, and Mitchell de Jong, well, he's nice and relaxed. He's just going to do his own thing here in this one. Well, it's been a tremendous season that started back at the beginning of February at Daytona International Speedway. We're headed to Mugello, Spa. We had the mid-season tournament at Sachsenring before two new tracks to the series of Thruxton and Fuji in the last 2 weeks. But here at the circuit, the 24 Heures de Mans, it is certainly a tremendous opportunity. It's a track that we have seen dramatic things happen before. Think back to 2023 and Jordan Caruso's DNF in the main race. Well, certainly we've been seeing some great drivers running in this one. Just 2 more races though. A sprint race of 3 laps. The top 8 gets inverted for the main race, which is 6 laps in length. It certainly is going to be a tricky race where there's not going to be too many opportunities out there, Arjuna.
It's one where sometimes we expect it to be quite like Talladega in terms of 3 and 4 wide. It doesn't mean passing is easy. In fact, it sometimes means the opposite. Avoiding the chaos and the carnage is the most important thing. When we were here in 2024, sprint race winner was Cooper Webster, something he will take solace in knowing that's where the majority of the points are paid out. That would be enough for him to guarantee himself the championship. You've seen the track in the Porsche All-Stars. You've seen this track across years of 24-hour racing. But here, as we get ready to go for the sprint race, it's going to take on a slightly different complexion. Qualifying's already in the books, and for the 13th time in his career, it's Sebastian Joe that has won the Tag Heuer Pole Award, and he's standing by with us right now. Sebastian, congratulations. I think in some ways you might argue one of your first good laps of the season here today.
Yep, yeah, my only good lap of the season, to be honest. Fuji wasn't too bad, but not something I was thrilled with. Yeah, just been a really bad season for qualifying. Spa, I was on for a really good lap and messed it up near the end. This one, I knew it was a good lap the whole way. I was just like, please don't mess it up. And yeah, really nailed it, really happy with that. At least I got 1 pole, so yeah, better than nothing.
Let's talk championship. Of course, that ship has sailed, unfortunately for you, but there's still a chance maybe for you to play the team game and try and support Cooper Webster. What's going through your mind as we get ready to rumble?
Yeah, obviously I want Cooper to win the championship. However, the points are extremely close where I am. I mean, I'm not joking, I gained 3 places by getting pole because the points were that close. I got 10 points for that, and that jumped me up 3 places, so it's a mixture. If we can get Cooper the championship win in race 1, that would be ideal, because then race 2 we can try and get me as high up in the points as possible.
Thanks for the chat, Sebastian. Congratulations on what's been a good run overall as Oracle Red Bull Sim Racing outfit, and best of luck for today. Here's a look at the Porsche Tag Heuer Pole Award, though, because Jordan Caruso, with 2 pole positions over the course of the season, has won the Pole Championship Award, and with it, a Tag Heuer Carrera chronograph and Porsche watch. Let's chat with a championship contender standing by with us. Jordan, in many ways, this series, it's defined by running well in qualifying and keeping yourself out of trouble. How does it feel to grab 2 pole positions over the course of the season?
Yeah, thanks for that. I've been really happy with my qualifying for this season. I had one pretty bad one at the start, but since then I've been really solid, so really happy with that, and yeah, stoked to get the pole award.
And what does that do for your mindset heading into the night, knowing that you've already got some sort of a win, but you've still got the main championship, I'm sure, left in terms of focus?
Yeah, it doesn't change much. The goal is still to win the championship. It's going to be tough with the situation we got going on here, but yeah, I mean, just gotta, I don't know, take the race as it comes, see what I can do, and yeah, it's going to be hard, but I'll do my best.
Good luck, Jordan.
Thanks.
There you have it, Paul. We're ready to go. Qualifying in the books. 2 races left to go.
It certainly is going to be an intriguing end to the season. Congratulations to Jordan Caruso on getting that pole award then, and a beautiful watch from Tag Heuer for him to celebrate that. Well, we are on the precipice of the final race, or final sprint race of the season, so let's take a look at the grid here, and it's an all Oracle Red Bull Sim Racing front row of Sebastian Job and Cooper Webster, your championship leader Webster. They're starting in front of Gustavo Ariel, who we saw being key in what happened at Fuji last time out, and Jordan Caruso starting alongside him. Diogo Pinto, race winner last time at Fuji, he's starting alongside him is Johan Harf, who has had a difficult season, I think it's fair to say. Alejandro Sanchez and Florian Labigra. What a second half of the last part of this championship it's been for Labigra, ahead of Luke McEwen and Kevin Nielsen. Will Chadwick and Alessandro Bico rounds out run number 6. It's the 7th row of the grid then for Beckham Josiah, who's had a difficult adaptation to this championship. Sam Keiter alongside him. Josh Thompson and Tristan Iglesias on run number 8, with the 9th row of Michael Janney and Xander Reed. 10th row, it's Elliot Veyron with Marina Sarica, with Oscar Pai and Mitchell de Jong all the way down on row number 11. He'll not be happy with that. Luca Kita and Nicolas Mateo on the 12th row of the grid. Final row, it's Carlos Fenolosa and Daniel Pastor. We've got 30 seconds, less than 30 seconds before the first race of the day, the sprint race. How do you see this one going, Arjuna?
I love what Sebastian Job said to us. You know, they're focused on trying to get Cooper Webster the championship here in the sprint race, so they can focus on getting Sebastian up the championship running in that main race. There's a clear focus, and look at the green windshield banner and rear wing on Cooper Webster. It will make it clear who our championship players are throughout the night.
Yeah, we'll be keeping you abreast of their run this today. So it's the final sprint race of 2025 in the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Supercup. The engine revs are rising, and we are underway then. Green flag in the air. It's a good launch from the front row for the two Oracle Red Bull Sim Racing drivers as they're heading towards that turn number 1, sweeping right-hander Gustavo Ariel, crucially ahead of Jordan Caruso. Pinto, your race winner, main race winner from last time. Oh, there's an accident at the back, wiped out into the through the gravel into the chicane. Josh Thompson and Daniel Pastor, two of those drivers involved, but Webster is a second already behind his teammate Sebastian Job. Sebastian means business here today.
He got a great launch out of that opening chicane and has just rocketed over the crest and set sail through Tetra Rouge. Remember, just 3 laps to run in this sprint race. It's going to fly on through. And so for Webster, important that Caruso lost a position to Diogo Pinto through that opening sequence. Caruso's now lost a couple more points. It's very much advanced Webster in that championship mix, but they're going to potentially be 3 wide up to the first chicane. There comes Will Chadwick up the inside.
Yeah, Will Chadwick further back is looking to make some moves as well as we head into that Daytona chicane then. So it's Sebastian Job who leads, Cooper Webster second, Gustavo Ariel third, ahead of Diogo Pinto in fourth. I know a certain Max Verstappen will be keeping an eye on this and will be having a big smile on his face. Jordan Caruso is in 5th place, looking to move forward. As there's your championship standings as things stand right now. Well, Mitchell de Jong would actually drop down to 4th place because Sebastian Job would jump ahead of him, and Caruso at 50 points if things stay as they are. It would all come down to the tiebreaker as to who's got the most main race wins. Well, for me, that's Cooper Webster.
And that's why I think Sebastian was so clear that focusing on getting up the championship order was important as well, because there's so much prize money, even 3rd and 4th at play, right? So I love that interview. There's so much that we can take from the drivers when they can share their thoughts with us in those brief moments before the race. Thanks to Sebastian and Jordan for those brief comments from them. Paul, I'm also just thinking about that main race situation. There isn't, at that point, with 26 cars on the grid, if Cooper finishes 25th, he gets an extra point. That's mathematically the championship is his, right? So,
oh, and look at this. Look at this. Webster to the front. He's moved ahead. And Sebastian Job down to 2nd place in this race. That's crucial because that does seal it Has somebody got into the... I mean, Webster will have got the slipstream there. And remember, strictly, there is no team orders allowed in this series. It is every driver for themselves. You're not going to see Sebastian Job fight, and I'm sure there'll be a team member in his ear saying, look, stay as we are, Cooper gets the title.
I think the other thing to remember is it's the first lap of 3, so they're going to switch back and forth at the front plenty, right? For those, we're not far away from the month of May, you know, Indianapolis, you switch so much at the front of the field, it's somewhat the expected tactic. It's harder to switch when you get further in line. Yes, there is still some dirty air that these drivers are dealing with and contending with, and it makes it hard to make some moves as well. I think Caruso's also got to be concerned, not just because of those in front, Paul, but look who he's got behind. He's got Alejandro Sanchez, he's got Johan Hart. Those are hungry drivers that have not had the best season, that will want to end on its high here at the Circuit de la Sarthe.
Well, that's it. Sanchez coming into this week was in 8th place in the championship. Johan Hart 12th, respectively. So those two, they'll want to finish off on a high note. Crucially as well, your pole position for the main race is Florian Lebigra, a position that we saw him in last time out at Fuji as well. So a bit different conditions though. Clear skies for these drivers. Track temperature is 34.5 degrees Celsius. I don't imagine that having a big effect. What is going to have a big effect is all that gravel down at the first chicane.
Yeah, I think Paul saw me laughing because the camera just cut to the chicane and there's just seas of gravel, and we've only gone through there once at that point, right? So the incident between Josh Thompson and Daniel Pashto, clearly significant enough that they've dragged that onto the track. Is that going to impact some of the traction at the top of the crest? Just something to keep in mind. That was not, though, the best exit through Tetra Rouge for Sebastian Job. It helps that you've got Gustavo Ariel and Diogo Pinto behind, but very much a great run onto this long straight from Cooper Webster as we check back in with some of the machines further behind.
Nicholas Matteo, to be fair, started right towards the rear of the field, and he's been working forward here. He started this race, did Matteo, in 24th. He could only finish 2 places further back. So he's up to 18th. I'm sure that part of that will have been the shenanigans at the chicane at the start of the race that will have helped him jump some places. But the Drago Racing driver has certainly been moving forward. It's been a very testing season, I think it's fair to say, Arjuna, for both of our Drago Racing drivers.
Absolutely, you know, it's sometimes hard when you are a quote-unquote smaller team, and when I say small, I don't mean in terms of stature, in terms of ability, quality, I mean in terms of car numbers in the championship. You look at the number of Redline and Kawanda machines, they just have more resources at which to throw at a championship like this than a team like Drago with just the 2 cars, and so sometimes those sort of teams make alliances with others. But it's always difficult, right? So I think for them, it's going to be hoping they build back for next year, hopefully fight their way through whatever the rest of this year holds for them. Not much fighting up towards Mulsanne, though, as Jordan Caruso, once again, I was saying, Paul, he's got to be careful because here comes Alejandro Sanchez. They're tripping over each other behind him, but Caruso holds on to 5th amidst all of that little bit of smoke.
That was Johan Hart getting pushed out of the way then, so he's dropped down the order. Yeah, he did come across the line in 7th. He's now down to 10th, which means that his teammate Luke McEwen is in 7th. We've got side-by-side here further down your field here for 11th, and ahead as well. They're fighting away as well. So battles starting to form here at the midpoint of the race to go through Indianapolis once again. It's crucial. McEwen is trying to hold on to a front row place for the main race. We've seen Luke start from the front row of the main race before here, and he's got himself ahead of Florian Lebigra. Lebigra will be keen to keep Will Chadwick behind now.
Yeah, and I talked about Drago being a small team. Will Chadwick's all by himself in the Hymo Setup 88 machine, right? So just think about that. A driver up there in the top 9 who's had to find alternate means of finding that speed, not necessarily having the ability to lean on a teammate in the same regard. Caruso does look vulnerable, by the way, to Alejandro Sanchez. There is a gap up to Gustavo Ariel that's now around 6/10 or so as they'll enter into this final section of the lap. Here's a look at the replay though, Paul, as they popped out of line. Keep an eye out on Johan Hart in the Apex Racing machine. He's got Florian Lebigra looking to the inside, but then a big lunge. Was that induced from the teammate? Was that Luke McEwen grabbing 7th and also costing Johan Arthur a couple of spots at the same time?
I'm afraid it is. So that'll be a bit of an explanation at the head teacher's door of Alex Simpson's office as they come across to start the final lap of the race here. And it's crucial, Diogo Pinto moving ahead of Gustavo Ariel, because that'll give him extra points, because when we last saw the live points, Pinto was right there in 5th place and he was extremely close to De Jong. So you could see Pinto move up into the top 4 here of the championship points, because De Jong is having an absolute nightmare of a race here. He's in 20th place. Do you know what you get for 20th in the sprint race? 1 point. That's all it is. And there, 1 point separates De Jong from Pinto as things stand.
And the difference between 3rd and 5th in terms of prize money is about $5,000 as well, right? So De Jong came into the night in front of Job. He's already lost about $2,500 from that. It would be another $2,500 lost if he drops behind the 44 as well. So he's really going to have to find some speed in the main race. He's made up 2 positions so far in the sprint race, but that's not necessarily enough for him to really feel comfortable. Out of the chicane they're going to work, and Caruso's closed back up to the 4 at the front. And Paul, on this final lap of the race, he's got to get aggressive, because right now, if this ends as it is, Cooper Webster, super duper Cooper Webster, would be champion.
Job's right there with him in his wheel tracks as they go down the Mulsanne straight for the final time of this sprint race, but you're not going to see any moves. This is the driver who needs to make those moves. But if ever there was an aggressive driver that you don't want to get into a knife fight with, it's the driver in front of him. Gustavo Ariel, he knows all it takes to be physical in a race like this. And Caruso, the only thing worse than him making a move and making contacts is making a move, making contacts and being dumped out the race.
Or race control penalizing him post-race and costing him 2nd in the championship as well. Yeah. So I think, Paul, you and I, we know Jordan, he's a smart driver. He understands the stakes as they are right now. What he can gain from making a move is more. He would lose more than he would gain. That's the way to properly phrase it, by making a move right now. And I think he's going to realize that. And so we're in an unprecedented situation, Paul, where I think for the first time in Porsche Esports Supercup history, we kind of have some sort of clarity about the champion early on in our championship finale.
First to 22nd, 23rd is covered by 7 seconds. That's how close this field is with the slipstream here in the sprint race. We've got some moves being made on Caruso, and it's Alejandro Sanchez in that Stormforce gaming car. Out the Varnage they go. Oh, big moment further back in your field there. That was almost going around, but Sam Keiter holds on to the vehicle. At the front though, Cooper Webster doing everything that he needs to do to secure the championship, and he's got great company behind him to hold on to that championship lead. Caruso, it's been a valiant effort from him to try and get a championship here this season. He wanted to be a 2-time champion. It's not going to quite work out here this year. But once again, for the 3rd time in history, an Australian is going to be your Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Supercup champion, and it's going to be a new champion here. Just 2 more corners to go, and Cooper Webster can see himself a Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Supercup champion.
If there were any nerves, Paul, they have all gone. Champion now elect for Cooper Webster. We've still got 1 more race to go, and all he's got to do is survive. Fist in the air. I think it's finally sunk in.
What a year it's been for him. And you think back to when he first came into the series, it's taken a couple of years for him to be consistently at the front, but this has been tremendous to see that change and improvement over the years. So, there we go. Provisional race results. We always have to say it's provisional, but Cooper Webster provisionally got his hands on that trophy. He wins by 0.2 of a second over his teammate of Sebastian Job. Diogo Pinto and Gustavo Ariel are in third and fourth with Caruso, Sanchez, McEwen. Labigra holds on to the inversion place ahead of Chadwick and also ahead of Johan Half. Then it's Biko Kaita, Jasia, Iglesias, Nielsen, Reed de Jong, who's moved up to 17th on that last lap, Veyron, Matteo and Jan, who is the last of your point scorers. And then the rest, Peter, Pai, Penalosa, Sarika, Pashto and Thompson rounds out your field. All drivers finishing that sprint race. What a race it was though for the Oracle Red Bull Sim Racing team. And well, we get to hear from the race winner, Arjuna. Take it away.
Cooper, you got it done in the sprint race. Talk us through that one. What was going through your mind at the start? Were there any nerves when you were sitting there waiting for the green?
Yeah, I'm just so glad that it's done before the last race. Like the amount of work and effort and just everything. I put everything into it, and it's the best feeling in the world for it to come off like this. And I couldn't have done it without my amazing teammates. All the teamwork that we do together throughout the whole season is the reason why I'm able to stand on the top step. So yeah, I'm so pumped. I'm so excited. It doesn't look like it, but I'm losing it. Yeah.
Well, the business not done technically yet. There's still one more race to go. So what can we expect from you now? Are you going to be unleashed a little bit more in this main race from the Circuit de la Sarthe?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to do what I can to help my teammates get as high as they can in their championship. But at the same time, I'm just going to enjoy it. I've worked so hard for the last 4 or 5 months to get to this point. I'm just going to enjoy it and do the best I can again.
Drink it in, Cooper. We'll chat with you at the end of the night.
Thank you.
Tremendous, brilliant stuff, and well, it all started right here. A tremendous launch from Sebastian Job. Was able to get the early lead as we had shenanigans happening at the first chicane, but then it was later on at the opening lap of the race, the run down to Indianapolis. Cooper Webster made the move on his teammate, and you were never in a month of Sundays going to have Sebastian Job make the move back on Cooper Webster here in this race. There was plenty of action further through the field as well. Drivers making some big moves. One driver will be disappointed with how the season's gone on is Mitchell de Jong. But it's that move down into Mulsanne that kicked it all off for Johan Half. Jordan Caruso, though, try as he may, he could not make it past that blue wall of defence.
Gustavo Ariel played the team game on a number of occasions this season, just with being in the right place at the right time, and once again Jordan Caruso just unable to find his way forward, and so the business is done. Don't forget, Jordan Caruso does technically still win something, the Tag Heuer Carrera Chronograph and Porsche watch, after winning the Pole Award win. The only thing I have in common with Jordan Caruso, Paul, is I also could have potentially a Tag Heuer Carrera Chronograph Porsche. There's no way I'm ever winning a Porsche Esports Supercup championship.
I'm feeling a bit left out in all of this. I ain't got the watch as we go through. It is a stunning watch, though, but congratulations to Jordan Caruso, there gets a watch, and also he's going to be looking at some great prize money as well, coming his way as well, because yes, Cooper Webster we'll get it all confirmed after the main race, but yeah, certainly Cooper Webster will be getting the main share of the prize money, but Caruso's not going to be bad off either. Look at that, most all-time race wins graphic on the screen. We've also had drivers from all over Europe, across North America as well, Australasia involved as well. It's been a tremendous championship here this season, Arjuna, and it's been a thrill ride all the way through. And you know what? We get the best thing. One more race to look forward to.
And now with less on the line, right? And I think that in some ways it is going to free up a lot of the field. That there was a lot of drivers that realized they didn't want to make moves that would get them in trouble in that first race. Now there's less trouble to worry about. Let's see how much the shackles are really unleashed. Are we going to end up 3 and 4 wide down some of the straightaways here, Paul? Because you and I, we've seen that many a time before.
We've seen it plenty of times. Well, Florian Lebigra once again starts a main race on pole position then. Alongside him, the Apex Racing Team driver of Luke McEwen. Could he get a main race win at the end of the season? Alejandro Sanchez and Jordan Caruso, row number 2. And then it's that blue wall of Gustavo Ariel and Diogo Pinto, row number 3 for Team Redline. And then behind them is the Oracle Red Bull Sim Racing pair of Sebastian Job and Cooper Webster. Will Chadwick tried his best to get into that top 8. He didn't, so he starts 9th. Alongside him is somebody who'll be feeling aggrieved, Johan Half, from that sprint race. Look to him moving forward. Pico and Keiter then on the 6th row of the grid, with Josiah, Iglesias, Nielsen and Reed rounded out for number 8. De Jong, well, he tried his best. He's still got a championship position to fight for though on row number 9. And, well, has got Nicholas Matteo, Michael Gianni ahead of Kita and Pai, Penelosa and Sarika. And then the final row of your grid for the season, Daniel Pashto and Josh Thompson. So I said right there, Mitchell de Jong has got to try and do all he can to salvage a 4th place now in the championship. But Diogo Pinto, who's right up there, he's in the box seat to get that place from him, and it's still some big money there, Arjuna.
Yep, absolutely. There's money, there's bragging rights, Paul, as well, let's not forget, because one of the biggest battles across of sim racing in the last 5, even 10 years, Coanda versus Redline, right? There's some history between these drivers, there's some tension as well, and we'll add 3 more laps into this race. Will there be tire wear to think about in our Michelins? Let's find out as we get ready to rumble the engines for the final time this season.
Florian Lebigra has yet to win a main race. Neither has Luke McEwen. Will we see one of those two on the front row take a main race win? We're all set then for the final main race. The revs rise. And we are underway, and it's a great launch from Luke McEwen in 2nd place as they head towards turn number 1. And the drivers going 2, 3 wide further down your field. Alejandro Sanchez looking to make a move for 2nd place on Florian Lebigra. Lebigra's trying to get in a little bit crowded out. Contact with Sanchez. Sanchez is off at the first chicane. Caruso's trying to make the move around the outside of Lebigra. And we've got carnage. Oh my goodness, the 2 Oracle Red Bull Sim Racing drivers together. And it's chaos.
What did I say about the shackles being released, Paul? You'd never have seen that in the first race, but with the championship, the serious business done and dusted, chaos. There's no other word for it. Out of Tetra Rouge, Luke McEwen got 7/10 back to Jordan Caruso, with Lebigra, Ariel and Pinto the rest of the top 5, and some big names dropping down through the field, not just Job and Webster, but those taking advantage of it, Paul. Johan Haas +3, Koita and Jasira +4. Xander Reed into the top 10 has gained 6 positions through all the chaos.
It's been carnage into that chicane then. I'm sure we'll get a look at that in a few moments' time. But into that first Mulsanne chicane then at the Daytona chicane. Luke McEwen leads ahead of Jordan Caruso. Florian Lebigra down to 3rd place then in all of that. Ariel and Pinto 4th and 5th. Sanchez, Hart and Keita is the top 8 with Josiah. What a run for Beckham Josiah this 2nd race. He's had a tough season, but he's moved himself up into the top 10 of this final race of the season. Xander Reed 10th place ahead of Will Chadwick. As we go 2 wide a little bit further back in your field as well, but I was hoping that it wouldn't involve 2 championship protagonists. And well, the 2 teammates end up into each other. Kevin Nielsen, out of all of that, ends up with a mechanical warning flag. He's taken a tour back to pit road. His championship season is done.
So let's go ahead and try and figure out everything that happened, as looks like Caruso shakes for a move but backs out of it down at Mulsanne. So there's already contact as Sanchez gets sent wide at turn 1. He skips through, he takes the slowdown. That's probably the wise thing to do. It looks like Webster had already made contact with Joe by this point, and then there's another shove from another of the red line cars behind. I think that's Diogo Pinto, Paul. So I think they're all kind of tripping over one another there. But ultimately, Webster's already run into the side of Job before things even got even more chaotic. It's almost 3 wide in towards the fast right-hand kink.
Caruso to the head of your field, but Florian Labigra moves up a place into second. Luke McEwen down to third, then he led coming through Mulsanne corner. Well, not anymore for him, but it's lap 1 of 6. Remember, double the length of race here, so still plenty of time for drivers to be able to do stuff. I mean, I'm looking at my timing screen. Cooper Webster minus 12 next to his name. Sebastian Job minus 17 next to his name. Be interested to see how that affects things in terms of championship-wise as well, because that could still turn and twist here in this final race. Not for the absolute overall championship, but those positions, third down, it's quite close there in the championship.
Absolutely. I've just taken another look, Paul, by the way, on my end. I'll correct myself. It wasn't Pinto, it was Coiter. And Job does actually go wide by himself into that first braking zone, and that's what then induces the contact with Webster, Chadwick, and ultimately with Coiter. So I'm not a steward, and I'm very glad I'm not for this particular series, but ultimately I'd kind of view that one as somewhat of a racing incident. But we'll end the first lap with all of that drama in the past, and Jordan Caruso at the front of the field.
Certainly is. So the first season that we've had the Team Indian Racing Festival name here represented in the championship, and it is certainly one that we will look forward to seeing in the future, we hope. Beckham Josiah, well, there he is on screen, racing from Miami, and it's something that we always pick up, Arjuna, there we go, we're on board with Beckham's car now. Something that we always pick up with Beckham, he's done his bed today.
And he's even got a checkered flag pattern on the bag. That is a 10 out of 10 scheme if I've ever seen one. This is a driver with plenty of credentials in karting, Paul. He's done some Formula 4 racing as well. He's going to get to do some more real-world racing as part of the Prodigy Racing League later on this year. But I think what Lassie and Williams Sim Racing see with Beckham is just another one of those young drivers who's got plenty of ability, and when pointed in the right direction, take Parker White as another example, can achieve great things. Beckham's been, let's be honest, hit or miss this season. We have not seen the full potential from the young American, but it's also his rookie season, right? How does he bounce back in 2026? That's going to be interesting to see, because sometimes we see second season syndrome in the negative way, sometimes we see it in the positive way. I'm thinking Alessandro Bica, who of course, first race of his second season, up on the podium in both the sprint and the main.
Yeah, absolutely. Marina Sarica as well had a very good second season as well for that Atlassian Williams Sim Racing outfit. I will say as well, another driver that you can point to for a good second season, Diogo Pinto won his championship in his second season. So, you know, it can be done. This championship is so competitive. We regularly see in qualifying that you're talking hundredths of a second, thousandths of a second covering drivers for position. So it is ultimately really competitive, and it can take a while for drivers to get a hold of it. There's a car running wide there. Beckham Josiah it was running wide.
All the commentators cursing there as we gave Beckham the good old promotion in the commentary booth. I'm just thinking as well, Diogo had third season syndrome, maybe that's the way you can put it for him. But look at a driver even like Max Benneker, right, who many will argue is up there in terms of being one of the top talents to have ever competed in sim racing. Never won a Porsche Esports Supercup title. This is just such a competitive and such a tough series as well, where look at Sebastian's run through this year's championship run in particular. Beckham's back up the inside. That's not going to quite work as Luca Kita runs the speed, the momentum around the outside. But some fun fighting. Bottom of the screen you can see the mistake self-inflicted as he runs straight and deep into the braking zone.
Changes at the front, by the way. Florian Labigra moving to the head of the field, and Gustavo Ariel now in second place. Ariel has had 2 main race wins to his name over his Porsche Heuer Esports Supercup career. Florian Labigra, first season. I mean, what a debut for him.
Oh no.
Oh, Beckham Josiah goes off at the Porsche curves. what a first season it's been for Florian Lebigra. At the first event, pole position and wins the sprint race. I mean, that's a heck of a start to a career in this series.
Problem is, he set the expectations too high for himself, right? It's hard to match that week on week when you burst onto the scene with that. We know Florian's ability. I think he's another one of those drivers that benefits from being at a team like Redline, right, where you have those resources and you can lean on some of the other drivers. It's not to say that he needs the help, but whenever you're looking for those hundreds, the thousands, Paul, like we're talking about in qualifying for this series, that's when that benefit can really play. And to be fair, Paul, we've come back to Le Mans. Remember last year we were here and we were seeing the drivers taking the shortest distance around the track. I think that's the correct way to say it, right? Running off the main racing line, just trying to find whatever speed that they could. Here, we're not seeing so much of that gamesmanship, Paul. They've had to try and just get it done by nailing everything, dialing in the setup, hitting their marks, and not making any mistakes.
As we're on board with Xander Reed going through Tete Rouge onto the Mulsanne straight. He's in 8th place right now. So goes down at the Mulsanne straight. Xander Reed, another one of our rookies for Cabina Racing. Been a heck of a season for him. Got himself a podium at the Sachsenring main race. When it seemed to be that the Coanda affiliated drivers and teams seemed to have a field day at that event. That mid-season tournament really worked out for Xander. And again, another driver has done his bed.
Yeah, but this is the thing about Xander. He's the only sim racer that I've ever seen, Paul, that wears a baseball cap and flips it around in their sim rig. So I don't understand how he does that and is comfortable. Clearly has to sit quite forward in his rig to accommodate that. Xander has been one of those rookies as part of the Heuer Esports group, Paul, that kind of expected a decent amount from, right? You've got Xander Reed, Elliot Veyron, and Tristan Iglesias, Elvis Rankin. Those are 4 big names in the name of sim racing that have finally made their step up to the top level of the championship and join someone like Luca Kita, right, who's been around the series for a couple of years, has been on the podium a couple of times as well, somewhat frequently in the top 10, but in the Stormforce Gaming number 16, Luca spent more time, I think, this season in the gravel than he's done in prior seasons, been involved in a bit too much contact, I think, than he would have preferred to have.
Yes, we continue to look through the field. Battle at the front. The Aerials found himself to the lead ahead of Lebigra, but Caruso was making some moves. We've got a red line car off into the gravel at the background of that shot. I wouldn't be surprised if that's Josh Thompson, because that's a driver who can be quite forceful in his moves. Diogo Pinto trying to move forward here, and look at that, the 2 red line cars and the Verstappen.com racing car of Lebigra trying to work together, but Caruso able to get into 2nd place. Pinto wants the points though to try and get himself into the top 3 of the championship.
And he's left
Caruso.
He left the big door open, and Gustavo had to be careful because you can get run off into that tire wall on the outside of Onage if you're a bit too confident that the car is going to give you space that you're battling with. Paul, I think Gustavo's in a tricky situation here because he's trying to slow down Jordan, but at the same time, look at the rest of the train behind, right? They haven't dropped off by any means, and so as Ariel retakes the point, sweeping in towards the Porsche curves, Lebigra has got a bit wide, and Luke McEwen's going to try and get alongside in towards the double left-hander. 2 laps to go, or rather 3 laps to go at the line, Paul. This is a really fascinating scenario because it's not just teammates like it was in the sprint race at the front of the field.
Yeah, we've got that mixture of teams. You've got Team Redline, you've got the Team Indian Racing Festival, you've got Verstappen.com Racing, you've got Apex Racing Team, Stormforce Gaming Racing involved in that one as well. We've got the Hymo Setups car of Will Chadwick as well in all of that. So a really, really tight one. Look at the bottom of your screen there, replay. It's Josh Thompson duking it out then with the 23 Michael Jardy. He then gets into the back of the 54 of Oscar Pye and gets bullied out the way, does Josh Thompson.
Yeah, not been an easy day for Josh. Remember, involved in contact at the start of the sprint race, involved in contact there. The word over the radio is that the words being used was stuff that Paul and I aren't allowed to repeat, but I think you can get the gist of what Josh was saying. that's that sort of day for him, to say the very least. You know, Paul, we're going through the field in this final race of the season and talking storylines. Let's talk about a driver you and I have shared the broadcast booth with. There he is, Will Chadwick, as I've mentioned before today, driving by himself effectively in the Hymos setups number 88. He doesn't have any teammates, he doesn't have any help when he jumps into a practice session, when he jumps into the race, but he still put together a pretty impressive season. And a driver that, Paul, you and I have seen make it on the cusp of making it into the Porsche Esports Supercup on several occasions, but he's always fallen just before the final hurdle. He's not faltered now that he's made the step up into the Supercup.
He is a driver who has taken a championship fight to Sebastian Job in the Rafa Racing Club Porsche Esports Carrera Cup Great Britain, which, by the way, we've got the final round of that championship coming up in a week's time on the Porsche Twitch channel. Will Chadwick knows what it's like to be involved in a championship fight and racing these cars. So definitely somebody who has seen an incredible rate of progression in his racecraft and his ability out there on track. As we still stay at the front of the field, it's still Gustavo Ariel, Jordan Caruso, Pinto and Labigra with McEwen, Sanchez, Hart, Reed, Chadwick and Iglesias, your top 10. And unfortunately, Arjuna, we're speaking to one of our drivers who's out of this race.
Kevin Nielsen was in the top 10 in points coming into the night, but Kevin, it's unfortunately ended early your season. Talk to us about the contact out on track.
It's just been a disaster, and yeah, it ended like the last two races. Coming out of the first chicane, I saw there was a crash, but yeah, it was way too late to react to anything, and got pushed from both front and behind, and then it was just one big miss.
Well, Kevin, as you mentioned, at one point you were third in the championship, so it's not been a terrible season, all things considered. It's just been at the end when things have unfortunately happened. Talk to us, though, about preparing as part of Coanda Esports, the new team for you here in 2025.
Yeah, I was super lucky to team up with Coanda, and I'm very, very thankful for both Coanda and Veloce for letting this happen. If I was alone on this, it would have been pretty hard to be up where I've been. So I've been super happy driving Coanda. The prep has been really good for what I can do. Obviously, I have a full-time job. I have studies beside this, so practice is very, very limited for my side. And it's just amazing to have a team like Coanda to practice up with, because they are super smart guys, very professional. It's been very, very good to team up with them.
Unfortunate end to the season, Kevin, but thanks for coming to chat with us.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, not what we wanted to see for Kevin to finish off the season. Slow down penalty for Marina Sarica and Elliot Veyron through the final chicane. It's been really close at the front of the field here, and Alejandro Sanchez, with a brave move, tried to make the move too wide through the Porsche curves on Jordan Caruso, not able to make that move stick, but Luke McEwen's now ahead of Caruso in all of this. Well, if you're watching this and thinking, oh, I want a piece of the action on this sim, well, check it out, iRacing.com to start your iRacing career today. All new memberships 40% off as we speak right now, so no time to wait. Come and join us. Every day is a race day on iRacing. You never know, you might get to share the track with one of our all-stars, with one of these drivers, or if you're really unlucky, with myself.
There was a bit of contact between some of these drivers as we were chatting with Kevin Nielsen as well, Paul, which, again, we kind of alluded to it between the sprint race and the main race. Shackles being unleashed here at the end of the season, right? And that's in a couple of different ways. One, there's no racing after this, at least in this particular championship, where you have to worry about these drivers coming back after you if you do something naughty in this particular race. The other thing is, there's limited tools for race control, right? There's points penalties that can happen, but sometimes we've seen qualifying bans, we've seen race exclusions that impact some of the drivers as well. That's not something that any of these drivers are worried about, and so that naturally means more physicality, and it's represented on the left side of the screen. Look how many big movements up through the field there are in terms of positions gained.
It's very much a last day at school feeling. Bring your toys to school day. It's what we used to have when I was at primary school or elementary school, for those of you elsewhere in the world. Hungry Hippos, that was always the one for me. As we go into Mulsanne, and look at the dive down the inside from Sanchez on Caruso. And Sanchez moves himself up into 4th place, and Caruso now under some serious pressure from Florian Labigra in 6th place. So we've got them all fighting it out here on this penultimate lap of the season. Things could get a bit messy down here, Arjuna.
Yeah, that was quite kind from Caruso to give Sanchez enough room, and it almost was opened him up to the attack from Labigra, but I think Caruso shoved Sanchez forward enough that he'll hold on here and now try and grab the spot back, maybe through into the Porsche curves, but Caruso's having to keep in mind, Paul, that he can't afford to be involved in any incidents here. Remember, 2nd in the championship is on the line for him right now. Yes, he's already won the great Tag Heuer Carrera chronograph and Porsche watch, but he also wants to make sure he locks down the $20,000 that 2nd place has in terms of prize money as well. So stay out of trouble with a lap and a bit left to go.
As we go through into the Porsche curves for the penultimate time then, side by side, Xander Reed, Johan Hart. The two of those are not going to give that one up without a fight, that is for sure, as they go through the Porsche curves. And Will Chadwick then up ahead of Xander Reed in all of that, so Xander Reed's dropping down the order between those two, but the front train is pretty much first down to about 14th place, something like that, as they go through the last chicane of the circuit, and we'll be starting the final lap of the season. One more lap to go in this, the 2025 Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Supercup Championship finale. And it is Gustavo Ariel from Diogo Pinto from Luke McEwen. Alejandro Sanchez, not only did he gain a place that lap, he also got fastest lap of the race.
I think it's important that Sanchez makes the move as well, because now he has the entirety of this lap to try and work with his sister car, with Luke McEwen, to try and find a way past the Team Redline teammates. You can go 3 wide here, Paul. I get the feeling, sneaking feeling, that heading out of Mulsanne for the final time, there is going to be a very real threat of McEwen getting a shove from Sanchez. It's all going to just depend on how close they can all be, how close they can concertina running down this long straight for the final time.
Gustavo Ariel, best result of the season, 5th place at Daytona, all the way at the start of the season in February in the main race. Diogo Pinto, well, he was a race winner in the main race last time out at Fuji International Speedway to go onto the brakes. In the damp conditions, don't forget, last time out, the first time ever in this season. That's another thing to talk about this season, with the changing weather being able to be at play for you here this season. Luke McEwen's best main race result, 3rd place at Daytona as well. Currently, he's equaling his best main race result, but the 2 Team Redline cars, look at that defensive move. That was aggressive from Gustavo Ariel. Pinto's moved ahead of Ariel. Pinto needs that place to help him in that championship fight for the top 3.
And this is where I think that help from Sanchez is going to force McEwen into this situation. You saw, was that proactive or reactive? That's something that I'll leave for the viewers to question in the chat. But Paul, the one thing that we know is that the 44, the 21, Pinto and Ariel, they're going to be aggressive with their defense here. They're not going to sit around and let anyone behind make their move. Look at Caruso, a power move around the outside. First of Sanchez, now trying on McEwen. He'll get the power down nicely. They'll make some contact as well. But it's a drag race off towards the slowest corner on the track.
And it's Caruso getting the slipstream off the 2 Redline drivers. There's a bit of irony in all of that as they head down towards Indianapolis, but McEwen's trying to get that side draft. In all that as well, a little touch. Oh my goodness, how was that not an aeroplane crash? I do not know. McEwen's there on the inside. Indianapolis, it's the outside of the left-hander. And Pinto, well, he's currently in that prime position, first place. Look at 2 main race victories for Pinto this season. Let's not forget, Pinto has only ever had 3 main race victories throughout his Porsche Heuer Esports Supercup career. As we head towards the Porsche curves to the final time. So it's Pinto, Ariel, Caruso for the win here today. So we're going in there, and Ariel to the inside of the Porsche curves. My goodness, I didn't expect to see that. So Ariel now to the head of the field. Could this well be Gustavo Ariel with the opportunity to get yet another main race win to his name? We've just got a few more corners to go for the Team Redline driver. It's 2 wins, main race wins for Ariel in his career. Could this be main race win number 3 into the final chicane? For the final time here this season, and in 2025, the final main race winner from Brazil for Team Redline, Gustavo Ariel. He's delighted about that, a race winner here to end the season.
And as he would say, Lango, Lango, Lango. Paul, it's been a tough year for him, but he's reminded the world, reminded his fans that he can stand at the top of the Porsche Esports Supercup.
And coming across the line, it's not the position he would have wanted to have finished in 20th with a battered and bruised car. Cooper Webster then, your 2025 Porsche Heuer Esports Supercup champion here today. And well, he seals it with that main race, but I think they'll have to do a bit of panel beating before they get that on the showroom for celebrations. Come on, give us a burnout then, Cooper. Dump the clutch and give us a burnout here in all of this. There you go. That's how you celebrate a championship win.
Super duper Cooper Webster. It's got a nice ring to it. How's he going to celebrate this one? I can't wait to ask him in the interview, Paul. He had one order of business to get to when we talked to him after the sprint race. Now he can fully relax, let this sink in. It's celebration time for the Oracle Red Bull Sim Racing number 37.
Certainly a great effort from Cooper this season. Tremendous, thoroughly deserved. As we head into the Loctite post-race show here then, let's just take you through your provisional race results then for the final time this season. Gustavo Ariel, 3 main race wins to his name now in his career. He wins by half a second over Diogo Pinto. The 2 teammates first and second place for Team Redline. Jordan Caruso tried his best to get the championship here today, but it was all too much. Finishes 3rd in this main race ahead of Alejandro Sanchez, who was pulling some moves. Luke McEwen down to 5th ahead of Florian Labigra. Will Chadwick gets a top 8 finish to finish off the season ahead of Johan Half. Tristan Iglesias and Xander Reed in the top 10. 11th place then for Luca Kita ahead of Sam Keita, who we saw almost have a big moment earlier on in this race. Josh Thompson ahead of Sarika, Gianni, Jasia, Pastor, Pai Veyron, and the champion, Cooper Webster, 20th place overall. 21st for Sebastian Job then, ahead of Carlos Venalosa and Nicolas Mateo, the 2 Drago Racing teammates. Alessandro Pico, 24th ahead of Mitchell de Jong, who got caught up in all that shenanigans at the start. He finishes 25th in the last point scorer. Kevin Nielsen does not score a point and does not finish this race. But Arjuna, you've got our main race winner.
It's a very happy Gustavo Ariel. Gustavo, congratulations. We saw the emotion at the line. Talk to us. What does it mean to be back in victory lane in the Porsche Esports Super Cup?
Well, I want to say a big thank you first to God, because it's been a very consistent season, and I'm very happy to keep developing, especially my qualifying, because I'm more like a race guy, so on the qualifying it was very tricky to put the lap, and starting P3 today I think was my best victory. I think I felt even better qualifying P3 compared to the victory, because it's been one of the toughest process for me in this season, in this all 3 seasons I did here. It's my fourth victory on the Super Cup, so I'm pretty happy. I didn't win since Monza 2020 on the last race. I won the last feature race in 2023, now the last feature race 2025. So yeah, means a lot to me. I just want to say a big thank you to Team Redline, all the sponsorships, as well, my girlfriend to support me throughout this season. So it's been amazing to share these moments with my teammates and also with my girlfriend and his family. So it's been amazing. It's amazing journey so far, and my friends as well, the Langos. So it's been amazing. Yeah.
Lango. Congratulations, Gustavo. Best of luck for the rest of 2025.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Team Redline, for everything, and let's keep pushing. Let's go Brazil. Let's go, guys. Thank you so much for never give up on me, and let's go. Congrats to Cooper and everyone for a great season, and see you next season. Thank you, guys. Ciao.
Let's catch up with our championship winner. The 2025 Porsche Esports Supercup King is Cooper Webster. Cooper, that last race didn't go all your own way, but let's be honest, it didn't really matter. You got the job done in the sprint race. How are you feeling now? Has it started to sink in?
Yeah, it has. No, I feel amazing. I feel insane. I'm so happy. Yeah, there's just like it all this season just came down to qualifying, and that's all I focused on. Every single round was that 100%. Like most of my effort and focus went into qualifying, because that's just like what this series is about. You need to qualify at the front, to stay in the top 8, get the reverse, get the points, and yeah, that's what I did, and I'm so happy about it. But yeah, I couldn't have done it without the tireless effort from everyone in Team Redline. I think the team just works together incredibly, and it's such a great team, and I think the team's made of champions.
Hard to argue with that one. I'm going to ask how this compares to some of your real-world success as well. You had a chance last year to win the IndyCar Butt Kicker iRacing Pro Series. Obviously stepped away to go and race at Macau, but came very close there. But you've done so many good things in the world of sim racing and real racing as well. Where does this rank in terms of your resume so far?
I think this one is so sweet. It's right up there. I would say I'd probably put my result at Macau above this one, because the same thing. I put 100% effort into that weekend, and I put the same amount of effort into sim racing. And this season, I had an opportunity to go race in the Middle East from the regional, but I wanted to switch it up for this time and put my focus on sim racing 100% and see what would happen. And yeah, and it worked out pretty well. So I'd put that right up there with my performances that I'm most proud about.
And before we let you go, I've got to ask, how are you celebrating this? What's the plan for you, the friends, the family, to go off and enjoy this one?
I think I'm going to go grab a champagne bowl and spray it outside, because Seb did that when he won the first time. It's still dark outside, but I don't care. I'll do that. I'll do that. It's 6 a.m. But yeah, I'll wake up the neighbors. I don't care. And then I'll probably share it with my family, because they watch, invested in it just as much as I am. And then I think I'll go share it with my girlfriend as well for the rest of the day, and just enjoy it, because she hasn't seen me very much at all during this time, because I've been focusing on it. But yeah, just spend it with the people that I love.
Well, congratulations, Cooper. It's 5 p.m. somewhere, so you can go and break open that champagne, and no one will judge you here. Been a great season. Can't wait to see what's got in store for the rest of the year for you, super duper Cooper Webster.
Wow. There we go. My goodness. I mean, it's always great to speak to a champion, and I do think he has deserved that one this season. He's been right up there and challenging all the way through the season. You can see that focus, and well, I mean, to turn down a Formula Regional Asia Regional Championship to focus on the sim racing paid off big style.
And I think, Paul, this was a story for us last year, right? With Cooper splitting time in GB3 and with us in the Porsche Esports Supercup, right? So I think it shows. He believed in himself. He knew he had the ability to win what is one of the most competitive and hardest sim racing championships to achieve success in. And last year, like I mentioned, he should have probably been the IndyCar Bucket Racing Pro Series champion, if not for the Macau Grand Prix. And so it is great to hear that he ranks that Macau weekend as one of the highlights of his career so far. This is now his second career highlight, and I can't wait to see what the rest of his young career has still got in store, because let's be honest, Paul, you and I, we've seen him in the sim racing world. The real world, there's still a lot more that have to find out about what a talent Cooper really is.
There's also something in the water in Australia, isn't there? Because we've had 4 seasons of this championship won by Australians. It just seems to suit their driving. And is it that supercar driving that really helps them out? Because those are high, powerful cars that you've got to no ABS or traction control in.
It's a good point, right? Sometimes back in the day of Josh Rogers, we used to also question, was there something about being in Australia, the impact of the netcode, right, and scaring some of the other drivers. But I think what we have just seen is the technical ability of some of these drivers, like you say, with limited control of the in-car tools. It's unparalleled. Just use the 2 hands, the 2 feet. Here's a look at the unofficial, the provisional points championship standings, because still some race control decisions yet to come. Mitchell de Jong drops all the way to 9th, Paul. That is remarkable. And in terms of how much money that's going to cost him, I'll have to go look back at the rule book, but I'm going to guess off the top of my head, it's a $10,000 swing just for him.
Yeah, so there you go. It is, as I say, provisional, but Cooper Webster is your champion by 19 points over Jordan Caruso, and Diego Pinto in 3rd place. Luke McEwen and Alejandro Sanchez 4th and 5th ahead of your reigning champion from last year, Sebastian Job, in 6th place. It has been an absolute thrill ride, has this championship, and what a way to finish off the season. Okay, we had drama at the start of the race, but that just all meant that it was all coming forward towards the end of the race. Congratulations to Gustavo Ariel getting the main race win once again here. From everybody here involved in the broadcast and behind the scenes at Porsche and at iRacing as well. Thank you so much. From my broadcast partner, Arjuna Kalkapati, I've been Paul Smith. We'll see you again soon. Take care.